first though. I've been meaning to fucking watch this. Let's do it. You guys want me to do it. I love drugs. I love psychedelics. Psychedelics are great. Obviously, consume responsibly. I would never consume them. I've never consumed psychedelics. Only legal mushrooms for me. I'm talking shiitake. I'm talking portobello. You know what I mean? I'm talking wood ear, like that sort of shit. If you want to go, if you want to get Asian with it, I actually do love what my Chinese family members cook up every time there's New Year's when they make like wood ear mushroom shit is fire. Oh my God, the consistency of it. It's not even a joke, actually. That it literally straight up like it tastes like or not the taste, but like the mouthfeel of it is like a pasta or something almost. Is weird. Anyway, big fan of mushrooms.
You know, the substances that gave us most music, seasons 1 and 2 of The West Wing, and this spectacular clip of a BBC reporter getting inadvertently wasted.
Burning behind me is 8.5 tons of heroin, opium, hashish, and other narcotics.
No shot.
Burning behind me.
Bro, what?
Quick. Well, we just need one more.
Exquisite. That deserves the Pulitzer Prize for reporter on most drugs. I'm not sure what my favourite part is there, his little giggle. The idea that someone thought, let's put a guy downwind from an 8.5-ton pile of burning narcotics. Or the fact that his main effect on him seems to be to turn him into a total sweetie pie. Specifically, we're going to talk about psychedelics, a category that includes drugs like psilocybin, LSD and MDMA. And let me first say, I know anyone with my face, voice and generally off-putting aura who talks about drugs is usually warning you about the devil's lettuce. But I'm no fucking narc. In college, I practically majored in herbology with a minor in gangineering.
I gotta bail you back.
They called me Sonic the Hedgehog because I rolled tightly. Also, I've done Blow on tour with Ozzy Osbourne, who's also my dad, by the way, so I'm in the scene, OK? I get it. The truth is, lots of people use psychedelics, some for spirituality, some for healing, and some, like A$AP Rocky, just for fun. The first time that he did LSD, it started to kick in just as he was having sex, with some surprising consequences.
No lie, a rainbow shot out of my dick. And it had a sound with it, like a piano or some shit. I have no idea why there was a rainbow coming out of my penis. I don't even like rainbow.
Excellent. Every sentence is better than the last there. A rainbow shot out of my dick? Fantastic. It had a sound with it like a piano or some shit? I love it. I have no idea why there was a rainbow coming out of my penis. Now he's introduced suspense to the story. I don't even like rainbows. What a way to stick the landing. Also, I'm pretty sure that A$AP Rocky just gave Skittles their next commercial. Skittles takes the dick rainbow. But tonight, we're going to focus on one particular use of psychedelics, in therapy. It's a field that you may have heard about recently in stories featuring testimonies from some very satisfied patients.
I had all this access to my mind, and I could control where I was thinking and going.
It connected me back to my body, like I could feel my body again.
It made me feel more comfortable with living, you know, because you're not afraid of dying.
It's like doing therapy while being hugged by everyone who loves you in a bathtub full of puppies licking your face.
Wow. That is a pretty powerful endorsement. He makes it sound pretty nice there. It would sound nicer if a rainbow also shot out of your dick, but that's only because A$AP Rocky has now raised the bar on what constitutes a pleasant human experience. That last guy is a veteran who claims that psychedelic treatment not only helped him with PTSD, but saved his life. And he is not the only vet who has benefited.
I had 3 experiences at full dosage, but the effects after the first treatment were profound. I would have said a 60% reduction in my symptoms immediately. I felt a mighty change had occurred.
60% immediately. It is not often you see those kind of results after your first therapy session, especially now that so much of it happens over Zoom. Usually day 1 is spent for introductions and trying to figure out what the fuck that thing behind your therapist's head is. That can't be what I think it is, right? It just can't be. And look, it's not just anecdotal. A recent clinical trial of MDMA-assisted therapy found that for those suffering from PTSD, Just 2 months after treatment, 67% no longer qualified for a PTSD diagnosis. And that is not even getting into the promise that psychedelics have shown in treating conditions like addiction and depression. The fact is, all of this is hugely encouraging. But it is worth knowing we've actually been here before with psychedelics and we fucked it up. And if we are not very careful in the years ahead, we could go backwards again. So tonight, let's talk about psychedelic therapy, its history, its potential, and what the pitfalls ahead might be. And let's begin by acknowledging a lot of these medicines, especially psilocybin, are nothing new to indigenous communities who've been conducting rituals involving mushrooms, peyote, ayahuasca, and other ceremonial medicines far longer than Western civilization has. But interest in psychedelics outside of indigenous communities really picked up around the middle of the last century. LSD was first synthesized in a Swiss lab in 1938, and a banker at JP Morgan named R. Gordon Wasson popularized magic mushrooms after hearing about an indigenous Mexican woman named Maria Sabina who used them in healing ceremonies and tracked her down in 1955.
After several attempts, he finally convinces Maria Sabina to let him taste.
Have you ever been high before? No.
Mushrooms, as they came to be called. He comes
Never.
back and writes an account of his adventure that is published in Life magazine, of all places. Now, this is astonishing. This is 1957 when it comes out. Thousands of words in the biggest magazine in America. This article, when it's published, is a sensation.
It's true. Wasson was basically the very first white guy who did shrooms and then made it his entire personality.
Speaking of medicated assisted therapy, I was shocked when Cutie said multiple therapists told her she was too dark for ketamine therapy on Fear End. I worked with mental health, behavioral health for years. I've never heard that before. I've never heard that either. I know people that have had like really, really fucked up, crippling PTSD and have done ketamine therapy for it, but who knows?
That article started a stampede of hippies and celebrities into Maria Sabina's village.
Would you ever try psychedelics? I don't know what you're talking about. Never would I do such a thing.
They burned her house to the ground. So you can add magic mushrooms to the list of things completely ruined by finance bros, along with vests, dating apps, and the middle class. But it wasn't just bankers and hippies drawn to the power of these substances. The US military actually conducted experiments to see if they could be dropped on enemy troops to incapacitate them. And lucky for us, they filmed those experiments for posterity.
Here is a group of normal soldiers responding correctly to a series of routine drill commands. After receiving a small dose of LSD, they're confused and undisciplined.
Yeah, you really got them there. Those soldiers went from tightly choreographed parade to tourists trying to decide where to have lunch. And all it took was a tiny bit of chemical warfare. It's brilliant. But even as the army was dicking around trying to invent a literal love bomb, some researchers were using LSD as a mental health treatment. In 1966, CBS News actually followed a man...
Okay, explain this picture. Wow. Why are you going to use that against me? Clearly, you can see that I'm incredibly sober here and certainly not on mushrooms. And if I was on mushrooms, it would absolutely be of the legal kind, of the legal variety, such as, like I said, definitely not psilocybin, but instead, shiitake mushrooms. Very sober here. You look like you're freaking out here. I wonder why.
Man who received LSD as part of his treatment for alcoholism and reported on its startling results.
6 months after treatment with LSD, 6 months after his release from the alcoholics ward at Spring Grove Hospital, Arthur King has started over. At the age of 33, he has gone back to school, something he talked about doing for years. In evening classes, he's studying accounting. Have you had anything to drink, for example?
No, I haven't. Nothing at all. And I haven't had any desire to drink anything.
That is incredible. But also, that guy is 33? I know that I'm hardly one to talk as a legal 45, but a spiritual octogenarian, but holy shit! People sure aged a lot worse back when we painted everything with lead and let people smoke in the delivery room. Unfortunately, by the late 1960s, psychedelics became increasingly associated...
There's nothing wrong, okay? First of all, some people just have that hairline, and it's normal at the age of 30 even, or 31. I hate that that's what we're going off of. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, having that kind of hairline. How fucking dare you? John Oliver.
Associated with the counterculture.
You know what I just realized? I mean, he's like hyper British. I mean that pejoratively. But he does have a very good hairline, which is kind of fucked up. I never realized that he has like a good ass hairline.
And as the government cracked down on that movement, they began an era of anti-psychedelic hysteria, and it was intense. Junk studies made dubious but terrifying
This
claims
guy's 31.
like that LSD could warp your chromosomes, and education films employed a wide range of tones and scare tactics like these.
This is a fetus from a mother not receiving LSD, a normal fetus. This is
One of my favorite things is just like, one of my favorite things to look at is like how much the American government basically just like lies, and still to this day, like with the fentanyl stuff, how much the American government just like lies about drugs and what the impact of drugs are. Like, yeah, drugs, especially consumed without any moderation whatsoever, can be very damaging and very bad, right? But like, it's not just that. You can't just say like, oh, well, you know, if you fucking smoke weed every goddamn day, don't do anything, like, and develop like not a physical or physiological addiction, but some kind of like mental addiction to smoking weed all the time that renders you incapable of doing anything. You're like, that is, you know, maybe that's a thing that is bad for some people, right? Like, but it's far from the norm for what weed is and how damaging it is. But you can't just say that. You can't just like mention what certain negative aspects of weed could be, right? And just leave it at that. You have to like make it up and be like, it makes people violent and aggressive and makes you want to shoot cops or whatever. You just got to like make new shit up. And if that doesn't work, you got to say it's a gateway drug, actually. Okay? It's actually a gateway drug. You start with weed, and then before you know it, you're doing heroin. You know what I mean? It's like they always have to make some dumb bullshit up about drugs. Like they can't just like leave it at like the actual dangers of irresponsible drug usage. Weed-induced psychosis, the thing they're on about now, there is a level of truth to that, but it's not for everybody. Like, that's so fucking stupid. That's if you have a history of, I think if you have a history of like schizophrenia in your family, if you're of the age where you could possibly start developing, those mental disorders. And also on top of that, if you're mixing drugs too, like there is a genetic predisposition towards that sort of thing that like weed and maybe even a bunch of other drugs that you're taking could activate. But that's like unique. You know what I mean? That's not for everybody. How do you explain this then? But same with fentanyl. Like, everybody understands fentanyl is devastating, right? Very powerful. It's very devastating. It's used in medical incidents, obviously. Like, it's used by doctors, administered by professionals regularly. But, like, it doesn't fucking kill cops through, like, airborne tactile contact. Like, that's not a thing. But they have to lie. Like, fentanyl is a great example of this because, like, it's already hard enough in and of itself. It's already killing a fuckload of people, but that's not enough. They have to turn around and just like, this Chinese-made fentanyl is actually a cop killer, real cop killer out here in these streets. It's like, what the fuck? Like, why? Why do you have to do that? Like, why do you have to just like lie about it? It's already like pretty fucking devastating when left to its own devices. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, I don't understand.
The fetus from the mother receiving LSD.
I know doctors, and I know lawyers, and I know the most stable people in the world. that have taken trips on LSD and are still waiting to return.
Unfortunately, these dreamy psychedelic trips are very often one way.
Okay, okay.
No. He did one tab, bro. One tab, dead. Funniest thing is that she got a cigarette in one hand too while she's fucking freaking out about that. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is that if you talk about the negative consequences of these narcotics, right? In like very serious terms, if you talk about the negative consequences of these narcotics in like real terms and not just like the made up shit, then all of a sudden the question remains, not to sound too much like a Joe Rogan guy, but there is a little bit of truth in Joe Rogan's takes about this part of the process. And the question always is, okay, if it's like only this bad, if weed is only this bad, then what about alcohol? Like, why is alcohol allowed? Why are cigarettes allowed? Like, there is no value to smoking a lung dart, okay? Smoking a guard. There is no value whatsoever. I say this as someone who used to fucking blow through a pack of Marlboro Reds a day. There is absolutely no value. Yeah, you look cool. That's it, okay? And it feels fucking awesome, but if you don't actually ever do it, not even once, then you would never know that it fucking feels great. Makes you feel good. It's so stupid. So, you know, I don't get it. Law Red, you're so white, I take it back. Wait, why? Is Marlboro Reds is a white guy thing? I mean, listen, I'm Turkish, motherfucker, okay? And I don't even like camels. How fucked up is that? But yeah, I am an Marabou. That's why I smoke Marlboro Red. Cowboy killers, baby. How about you smoke on a fucking top of the hour ad break, though, okay? How about you do that instead? Because at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free. You smoke on the top of the hour ad break pack by subscribing. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Blasted Safe, thank you for the 5 big ones. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
There, from the hamster fetus that looks like dino nuggets to the woman screaming at you about all the doctors and lawyers she knows to the hearse that apparently makes house calls. And while all of that was nonsense, I do kind of miss the days when we used to get dressed up to watch our drugged out relatives get carted off to the morgue. Honey, they'll be hauling Jimmy's body to its final stop before hippie hell. Quick, where's my tie clip? Helen, tie clip! The neighbours may see. They're going to think we're poor. Get it together, Helen, and find my tie clip. The boy is dead! Tall tales about LSD ran rampant. At one point, a Pennsylvania state commissioner claimed 6 tripping Pennsylvania college students stared at the sun so long that they went completely blind. But the truth is, he made it up. He later admitted the hoax, saying that he'd attended a lecture on the use of LSD by children and became so concerned he wanted to scare people away from the drug. But the hysteria hit its absolute peak when Nixon passed the Controlled Substances Act, which placed LSD and psilocybin in the most restrictive legal category possible, alongside drugs like heroin, essentially stopping medical research dead in its tracks. One researcher described the work as being put in the deep freeze. And when scientists started working with MDMA, it too got swept up into the panic, with a journal Science alleging that just one use can cause permanent brain damage in monkeys, a study that got a lot of attention before being retracted after it was found that the monkeys hadn't actually taken MDMA at all, but instead had been given meth. And that is a very different drug. Any study's result is going to change if the independent variable is suddenly and unexpectedly fucking meth. We've studied the vaccine for COVID and the participants are going apeshit for it. But in recent years, perceptions have finally begun to shift, with the FDA granting breakthrough status to support the study of MDMA for treating PTSD and doing the same for psilocybin to treat depression. And at this point, let's talk about exactly why psychedelics can be so effective. Different ones can work in different ways, but for instance, research shows that MDMA dampens the response in the amygdala, which is the threat detecting centre of the brain, meaning you're able to confront and process trauma that you can't otherwise face. Here is one researcher explaining how it works with a story about taking MDMA recreationally in his younger days.
I can remember one time after a rave, all of us lying around.
Okay, that's David Dobrik, bro. You will never convince me that that is not David Dobrik. What the fuck is David Dobrik doing in a documentary about MDMA? What's he doing?
All of us lying around, all loved up.
He's smiling like him too.
Oh wow, this is amazing, it's so beautiful, everything's so perfect. And someone said, let's think of the worst possible thing we can imagine. And someone said, let's imagine our mums dying. And then someone said, it's not that bad. And I didn't know it then, but that really was what MDMA does. It allows you to think about and go to those.
That's pretty crazy that you were doing that much drugs that, like, you were like, all right, we've had our fun. Let's think about the worst shit that we could possibly think about. Like, I am the Gary Vee technique. Yeah. David went to the beach that makes you old. The only way you get to that is if you're doing it so much that you're just like, yeah, fuck it, YOLO. Let's try something different today. For me, I'm like, I would never do drugs. But if I were to do it recreationally, it would be rare, right? Hypothetically, in a book, in a video game, okay? And if I were to do drugs recreationally, it would always be like, I'm trying to do it to, make good vibes. And the opposite of that is imagining a loved one dying. That's, really bad.
Dark, difficult, forbidden, avoidant memories that you normally wouldn't be able to touch.
That is fascinating. And I'm so glad that worked out for him. But let's imagine our mums dying. Doesn't sound like an amazing time. It sounds like a rave DJ'd by Werner Herzog. Life is fleeting. Let's imagine our moms dying as a solemn reminder that all we have is tonight. Now, wave your hands in the air as if our slow passage towards oblivion makes you just not care. Now, to be clear, psychedelic therapy involves much more than just taking a pill. These drugs alone don't automatically produce results. Usually, treatment entails multiple sessions lasting most of the day, in which you may take MDMA or psilocybin under the
storm.
supervision
Thank you for the
of
fire.
medical
Get the sub.
professionals, and then follow up with processing and aftercare. They are not a replacement for conventional talk therapy. They just seem to make you significantly more receptive to it. Just watch this former firefighter narrate video of himself undergoing MDMA-assisted therapy.
This is your first medicated treatment session?
Correct. This is the beginning of some interesting revelations on this video.
And are you feeling completely conscious and you're in control and...
Yeah, and I felt like I was able to relax even when I was talking through probably my most traumatic memories.
I don't think I had seen a dead person until then. The first one was gruesome too.
It was like being able to take a big breath, after being stuck underwater for a long time.
Yeah, and you can see the utility of having two people either side of that man talking him through the experience. And if it sounds like I'm treating having two people to talk to about your feelings like a radical idea, you do have to remember that I was born tragically and medically British. What is interesting is, though...
Dude, speaking of British... I watched a fucking video yesterday. I'm gonna take a fucking random aside here. I know this is such a weird avenue to go down, and it's like another classic HasanAbi ADHD moment. Holocene has been. Thank you for the 5 get the subs. But speaking of British, okay. Hold on, where the fuck is this? I saw this fucking video yesterday from like Thomas the Tank Engine. Or whatever it's fucking called. Hold on. I hope I liked it because I need to find it right now. There was a tweet that said, this video from start to finish explains everything you need to know about being British. And it did. It literally did. Oh my God. Haas Train, that's a rare moment. You know what I'm talking about? Does anyone know did anyone see the fucking thing? At this point, we are a hive mind. You literally, Hasan's illegitimate son, you literally don't have ADHD. You just want Adderall. Okay. We are a hive mind. You know we fucking seen it. You know someone in this community has seen it. You realize Thomas Tankage is the guy from the Beatles? No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's it's the stop motion this is yes, 2D Rice, thank you.
Muted. Your brain's ability to make other connections and forge new neural pathways is also heightened, meaning that these sessions can fundamentally alter the way you process things. That is thought to be one reason why psychedelics are so promising for treating conditions like addiction and depression, and why they are proving especially useful for dealing with trauma. That is what makes this form of therapy particularly appealing to veterans, as PTSD is an urgent issue for them. In 2019, over 6,000 veterans died by suicide, a rate substantially higher than the general population. And it's not like the VA's current treatment methods are particularly effective. Remember the guy from earlier who compared psychedelic treatment to a bathtub full of puppies? Listen to him describe the mental health care from the VA that he initially received.
I drove to Womack Army Medical Center at Fort Bragg, and I said I was going to kill myself. They gave me 6 Xanax, told me not to take them all at the same time because it might kill me. They asked if I had guns at home, and I said,
oh my
yes,
God.
a lot. And they said, asked if I had ammo. I said, yeah, plenty. They said, okay, when you get home, give all your guns to a neighbor. This is like 4 o'clock in the morning. And they said, come back after the holidays.
Okay, I knew the VA's mental health services were subpar, but I didn't know they stooped to, here's a bunch of ways to kill yourself, but on a system, don't. And anyway, see you after the saddest time of the year. Thankfully, that guy saw such a profound change from MDMA therapy that he's now helping to lead a movement to allow psychedelics to be used to treat conditions like PTSD, eliciting help from...
Cap, bro, no way that happened. Are you serious? Are you joking? Of course, dude. That absolutely happens all the fucking time. There are probably veterans in this chat that have experienced similar things in this fucking chat. That's insane, brother. What do you mean, Cap? No way that happened. Bro, do you know how many fucking vets probably, whenever I hit the top of the hour ad break, when they see the lock your guns if you have suicidal thoughts, please lock your guns in a gun safe. Ads, that's the public, that's the PSA. That's the most helpful mechanism for the veterans in the chat who might have guns and have like crippling PTSD and suicidal ideation. Literally, just like if you have guns in your home and you are a suicidal vet, please lock your guns in a safe. This is your 30-second government-sponsored ad. Like, okay, sick. All right, cool. I have top of the hour PTSD. Okay, shut the fuck up, chat. I'm not running an ad break right now. I work at the VA inpatient pharmacy, and I see the way nurses treat the psych patients and what they prescribe to them. It's absolutely awful. I support psychedelic therapy 1,000%. The ad is to buy a gun lock, by the way, lol. Don't kill yourself by engaging in capitalism. Oh, shit. That's even better. They're like, hey, consume this product that we're selling you so you don't fucking kill yourself. Or make it harder to kill yourself.
Democratic lawmakers like AOC and even Republican lawmakers like Rick Perry and Dan Crenshaw. And that kind of bipartisan consensus has brought us to the tipping point that we're at right now, because so far in the US, these drugs have only legally been available to people in clinical trials. But over the next year, it is widely anticipated that the FDA will approve MDMA for clinical use.
And, be in the exact same shitty job market as everybody else. Fuck that shit.
And maybe even LSD one day, meaning that we may be about to finally realize some of the huge potential of psychedelics, which is great, but it is worth being very careful at this point to make sure that we don't repeat past mistakes or indeed make new ones. And those who work in this field point to a few big areas for caution. The first concerns how psychedelics are administered and by whom, because While people have used these drugs recreationally forever and will continue to at parties, at raves, in nature, or to really liven up a baptism, psychedelic-assisted therapy is not for everyone. For example, anyone with a history of schizophrenia or psychosis may want to steer clear. And even if you are a good match, because these drugs can put you in an incredibly vulnerable state, experts emphasise the importance of trying them in a controlled setting, which ideally would involve 2 people present at all times and even videotaping the session, like that one that you just saw earlier. They advise this not just for your own safety, but also because, for all their potential benefits, these drugs aren't always a bathtub full of puppies.
We tell people that their experiences may vary from very positive to transcendent and lovely to literally hell realm experiences.
Hell realm.
As frightening an experience as you have ever had in your life.
Now, that does sound bad, although, to be fair, you don't need to take drugs to get to the hell realm. After all, that is why airports have Sabaros. But it is
an
important
Italian
to
institution.
Note that even those in studies who've reported hell realm type experiences have often still felt that they benefited from the treatment. But safety is not the only worry here. There are also concerns over accessibility. These treatments are likely to be very expensive, and there are some players angling to make them even more so. Just look at Compass Pathways, a for-profit psychedelic company backed by Peter Thiel. It sought and obtained patents to protect its formulations of psychedelic compounds, which already seems pretty aggressive for a drug that, remember, has been around for thousands of years. And Compass's executives seemed pretty defensive when they were pressed about this.
Do you really believe that your form of psilocybin is novel and non-obvious?
Well, it doesn't really matter what we believe. What does matter is what the US Patent Office believes, what the UK Patent Office believes, what Germany, what Hong Kong believes. And all of them believe that actually it is because we have the granted patents.
OK, but we shouldn't necessarily trust the US Patent Office as an arbiter of good judgment. This is the same place that issued patents for an umbrella for your beer, a tricycle with a lawnmower attached to it, and a stick. That's it, just a stick for animals to play with. Someone in the Patent Office saw that and said, "We've never seen a stick before, approved." So take what they believe is important with a big pinch of salt. And look, it is not just the drug formulation. Compass has also tried to patent other aspects of what's often called the set and setting of treatment, from the room comprising soft furniture or being decorated using muted colours, to the subjects lying on a bed or on a couch, or a therapist responding to things a patient is saying, which is just the entire fucking concept of therapy. It'd be like me patenting the concept of wearing a suit while sitting at a desk. I'm clearly not the only person who does this. Now, if I were to patent the concept of doing that while making you wonder why the fuck your TV is still on after The Last of Us has ended, then yeah, that would be uniquely my thing. Now, those set and setting patent applications are still pending, but the very fact they applied for them at all is a pretty clear sign of just how aggressive companies in this space intend to be going forward. And it is not like these treatments are going to be cheap to start with. Experts project a course of psychedelic therapy is likely to cost upwards of $15,000. And given that, as we've discussed before on this show, there's currently a massive shortage of mental health professionals in this country, due in part to how fucked up our health insurance system is, you can see how this could quickly and easily become a big mess, or only accessible to the wealthiest Americans. So there is a lot to figure out here, even before you get into questions like, who will regulate psychedelic therapy? Because the FDA is in charge of drugs, but it doesn't regulate the practice of medicine. Now, state laws could cover it, state regulatory agencies could, or professional organisations might. But someone has to. Because if they don't, people are likely to get hurt, which could then send us all the way back to fear-mongering, bans and research getting put on ice, which is the last thing that we should want to happen. Because there is massive potential here. These treatments have shown that they can sometimes have lasting effects. Remember the world's oldest 33-year-old that you saw earlier, whose LSD treatment seemed to have curbed his...
I'm back, Hasan, and I haven't forgotten you calling your viewers losers, lol. How is the lives of your viewers improving by watching you? Answer, bro. React to my YouTube channel, please. Andrew Tate ruined a generation of kids, and what's the fallout of that future? Bro, I do love the fucking sports guy in the PFP Twitter users making their way to Twitch and then continuing that fucking same culture of just like being a fucking bot. I do appreciate the consistency. You know what I mean? Neymar fan. I mean, like, it's always the same shit, dude. Like, you got fucking Ronaldo in the PFP, and you're writing under every comment. You got follow notifications on, okay? And you're writing unhinged NPC shit under every fucking comment. I will never understand why people do it, especially because, like, it's impossible to distinguish you from other soccer PFP motherfuckers. Or like sports PFP motherfuckers in general. It's so funny. Like, it's not even unique. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you're just saying the same exact shit that everyone else is saying. And it's impossible to... Fucking idiot. It's impossible to parse through all of that and then figure out, like, if this is a unique one or something. How do I right the wrong of cheating on my ex and being a better human being? Bro, come on. I'm not like... I'm not here. I can't offer you fucking advice.
His alcoholism?
Like
CBS caught up with him a quarter century later to see how things were going, and the answer was pretty well.
LSD allowed me to see my own mind. There was a problem that I had to resolve, and I faced it, and it disappeared. As far as I'm
that guy's actually, he's actually 40 years old now.
concerned, I wouldn't take $1 million for the peace of mind that I obtained from this therapy.
It was that good, that refreshing, that rejuvenating.
And that enduring.
Exactly. 30 years later, he was still feeling benefits from the treatment, which is striking. And you would think that we'd have acted on evidence like that, but instead it seems we've spent the last half century terrifying people with bogus science and giving meth to monkeys. But the good news is we are finally moving forward, and hopefully we will do that with real caution and real care. Because if we do, maybe, just maybe, one day you will see ads for psychedelic therapy on TV with a voiceover warning you that side effects may include visits to the hell realm and rainbows shooting out of your dick.